so Leif lives here in my town, and we ended up doing jujitsu together and a few other things. And he overheard somebody, he overheard somebody talking, another individual and I talking about the just the business stuff that I'd been doing. And he was like, "Hey, man," he's like, "We've got some stuff that's going on that might be relevant. Like, would you like to come?"
Get up together. But that is the thing, though, is a lot of times people expect that without any experience, they can just walk into a job because they've got a degree, and that's enough for them to be able to, And at the same time, like, I get it. Like, you come out of college, you're like, how am I going to get a job without the experience, and so on and so forth. But I mean,
I'm not mad. It's the American.
Well, that's what they're told.
Yeah, it's the American way. Like, hey, we paid for all your college. Now go out and get a good job. So I don't begrudge the guy asking for the $150,000.
No, I don't either. It's just, again, like, you did it for free for 9 months, and then all of a sudden you got wrapped up into it.
And I'll give you an example of someone I met along the way where are we recording or?
Yep.
I don't know where. Yeah, but I'll tell you. I mean, you could lead into this or whatever. But I'll tell you about a story that I gave some guy advice, and now he's a multimillionaire, but based on that same premise.
Where you told him, hey, put in the work, even do it for free, give.
So I was on a bodyguard detail. This is crazy. It's crazy how things happen. Because sometimes I realize we all dismiss people, right? I mean, life's going on. You don't have time for everyone. But this particular day, I was doing an advance for one of my clients. It was for a Grammy party that he was hosting. And him and his wife are big deals in the music industry. So I went to advance it, and the venue's all set up. And there's, they call them like bike racks, or, they use them at concerts to keep people from going through, like, the security rails. And the guy's standing on the other side of the rail. People are already waiting, even though it's 5 hours before the party starts. And as I'm walking up, he says, "Hey, are you Bruce?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, and he goes, "Oh, well, I was asking who was in charge." And I took the time to stop. I was going to just blow him off because he seemed like a 19-year-old kid. And then I stopped and said, "Oh, what do you need?" He goes, "Listen," he goes, "I really want to meet your client tonight." And I said, "I don't think that's going to happen." I said, "Why do you want to meet my client?" He says, "Well, he runs a record label, and I have this idea." And I said, "Okay, I don't know why I had time to kill." So I said, "Let me listen to him." And he said, "I've got this idea. I'm from Minnesota. It was a digital kind of idea. I don't know if you remember Napster, when Napster first started downloading.
I think I was on Napster before anybody, because I was in middle school. I was just all over it.
By the way, he was a client I took care of for a couple weeks. I regret not following up with him more, the guy that founded that. But so I told this kid's telling me a story. I said, "Well, why don't you just go apply at one of these labels?" He goes, "I've tried, man." He goes, "I've been out here for 2 months. No one will take an interview. I'm literally a dumb kid but I have this idea and I think it's going to work, but no one will even take an interview, let alone." And he said, "My mom wants her to come back home. She thinks I'm wasting my time." And I said, "You know what I would do, man?" I said, "If you had an opportunity with anybody," I said, "I would just say, listen, I'll work for free." I said, "Just give me a shot I'll start in your mailroom." You've heard the story about studio heads have started in the mailroom kind of thing. I said, "Just give me a shot. I'll work for free." And he goes, "Oh," I said, "Dude, that's on you." I said, "I'm just telling you, you want to get your foot in the door? Tell them I'll work for free as long as I need to prove myself. And if that's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months." And I said, "That's on you how you pay your rent." I said, whether you work as a server at night," I said, "offer your service during the day." And he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that." I said, "I'm just telling you." I said, "You're not getting an interview." Called every label in town. So what happened was I'd go back to the hotel and this is hours later, I get my client. And my client was a pretty outgoing guy. He always wanted to talk to people. And as we're pulling up, he said, "Is there anything I need to know?" I said, "No, everything's set up." And we're getting out of the car. For something struck me. I said, "Well, this kid in the green shirt wants to say hi to you." And he said, "Oh, let's say hi." And so he came up, and I can't remember the kid's name right now. It might be Chris. And I wasn't really listening to the conversation because I'm paying surrounding my surroundings because I'm with the client and his wife. They might have talked for 45 seconds would have been the longest, maybe 30. And he turned to his assistant and said, "Hey, get this kid's information. We go into the party." I never see that guy again the rest of forever. Gone. It's an afterthought, right? Matter of fact, when he came out of the party, he wasn't even there. This gets me chills. 15 years later, I'm at the Super Bowl in Los Angeles 2 years ago at the SoFi Stadium when it was in LA. I'm in the suite with a client, and I don't know if you've ever been to one of those things, but there's glass partitions so you can see through to the next person's suite and see, who's in the suites. And I sensed this guy was staring at me, and a few minutes later, one of the security guys at the door said, "Hey, there's someone here to see you, Bruce." And I go out in the hallway. I instantly recognize his face. It's this kid from 15 years ago. I just remembered him, and he kind of, "You're Bruce?" I said, "Yeah." And he kind of reached in and gave me a hug, which I'm not a hugger, like, especially when I'm working, right? Doing security, I'm like 36-inch-year-old man. And I'm named Chris, and I remember, yeah, of course. And he kind of started getting teary-eyed. He goes, "I got to tell you, you changed my life." I'm like, "I did?" He goes, "Remember that advice you gave me about, offering services for free?" He goes, that his assistant did actually, she didn't follow up. I guess whatever, they exchanged information. So he bugged the shit out of her for like 3 times. And then finally, I guess she took his call and said, "Listen, man, we don't have any positions for you." And he said, "Well, I told the owner I would work for free." And she says, I don't, she kind of was like a typical rude executive assistant. Like, "I don't have time for this, but you know what? Here's the HR director." He got a hold of the HR director, kind of pitched it. And she said, "You work for free? Who does that?" She goes, "Sure, come on in." Goes in. And I think they literally had him start working at the desk, greeting people. I'm kind of fast forward. He does this internship. He's not getting paid. Someone in marketing recognizes him. They finally say, "Well, man, you seem like you're working hard. Let's start getting you paid, man. We get you, 6 months later." He does this digital concept. It doesn't work at that label, but he creates his own business, basically. 15 years later, he's got a digital production company. The suite he's in, he owns at SoFi. He's doing $15 to $20 million a year doing this digital stuff with music. The wife who's with him, he meets, she's in the legal department while he's doing his internship. She's in the legal department. And they end up, she even said to him, "I can't date you while you're an intern, but if you end up getting a full-time job, I'll think about dating you." So, no, isn't that kind of crazy? He's got 2 kids now, but he literally said, "I got to thank you for where."
I was going to say, it's pretty LA.
Yeah, that's typical, right? Like, yeah, you don't have a job. And but the good news is they're like a family now. And he goes, "I literally, if I didn't take that advice, I would have went back to Minnesota and probably, who knows what I'd be doing." So my point was this: I don't dismiss anyone. If I could help someone lend a hand and give someone the advice, why not? A little long-winded for what that accomplished, but
No, not at all. I mean, it definitely drives the point home. I mean, I think it's. There was I have an example of my own, and I even did this late in my career. There was a group of guys that I had looked up to. I don't know if you've heard of Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They wrote the book Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
Leif actually lives.
Jocko came and spoke at our office.
Right on. So Leif lives here in my town, and we ended up doing jujitsu together and a few other things. And he overheard somebody. He overheard somebody talking, another individual and I talking about the just the business stuff that I'd been doing, and he was like, "Hey man," he's like, "We've got some stuff that's going on that might be relevant. Like, would you like to come? Would you sit down? Let's just like kind of talk, and maybe there's some stuff we could do." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I ended up again. I was actually kind of in a transitional stage of my career where I had some time and had the ability to do some of this. But like I went ahead and I did the session, and like the type of marketing that I had been doing and biz dev stuff was not exactly the way that they had been doing it. And so I maybe think from the outset, it might not have been all that enticing to them, but what came out of it was, I, ended up just saying, "Hey man, like I'll just start coming up here and helping." And for probably, it was January that I started doing that. And then it was probably sometime in May where they came to me and they're like, "Hey, like we want to bring you on. Like we want you on the team." And so, I mean, that even, something that you don't have to be somebody that's just like, up and coming and right out of school. Like you could do this at any point, any stage of your life, if you want to do something bad enough.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Jocko was cool. We actually worked out together that day. It's funny. I met him at a podcast.
Oh man.
And the classiest thing, cause he's like a pretty stoic, no nonsense guy. Like he saw my Marine Corps tattoo on my forearm and goes, "Hey man, thanks for your service, man." But he's like a matter of factly about shit. But the guy's doing the podcast.
Yeah.
He says something. He says, "Well, were you in the military?" And Jocko goes, "I wasn't in the military, man. I was a fucking Navy SEAL." Like he corrected him on the podcast. Like you think I'm some. And the guy, like a few minutes later, says, "Well, when you were in the," I think he might even said the Army. And the guy goes, Jocko goes, "Hey, I don't want to correct you again." He goes, "I was in the Navy. Can we just get that clear right now?" Like and I can see the guy getting all fucking flustered. But I love that dude.
Oh yeah,
I love that dude.
Oh, he's
You
great.
need more people like that.
He's even cooler than you think he is. Like he's fantastic on video. He's great on podcasts, but then you hang out with him and
Yeah.
like he's the extreme ownership thing. It's like it's legit. Like he lives it, he breathes it, he teaches to other people. And like, he's so disciplined that like, I don't know, it gives him this superpower of, you know, just being him wherever he is. And he's actually really hilarious.
Yeah, no, because we actually
got an amazing sense of humor.
I know I ran into him after he started the drink company, and then, yeah, it was much more of a funnier, you know, we're talking about food and beverage and stuff, but the funny thing is I kind of coined it too, because, you know, people with these morning rituals, someone interviewed him one time, he goes, you know, what inspired, he goes, I just get up and do it, man. Like, you know, I guess he's always up at like 4 a.m., right? Because the shows his watch.
Yeah.
He goes,
yeah.
I just get up and do it. You think I need someone to fucking coddle me and tell me to get up? Because you know, people always want to hear, what inspires you to wake up and work out in the morning?
Yeah.
It's like him and Goggins are like, we just get up and do it. Like, what? I don't need.
It just happens.
It just
like
happened.
We do it.
Yeah, we don't wake up and say, I don't
decision.
feel inspired today. He goes, I just have the discipline. And I kind of say that too. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have any rhyme. I just wake up and do it. You know.
I mean, it's tough to be inspired
Yeah.
all the time. It's tough to be motivated all the time. I'd say it's impossible.
For sure.
Most days that we're showing up to work, like especially the past couple weeks for us, where it's been a little bit more difficult. Like, I don't even want to do it, but it's the work has to get done. Nobody else is going to be doing it, so we have to show up. We have to, you know, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, tighten our belt, and say, if this work doesn't get done, something bad happens or something good happens, and the only good thing that happens is
right.
we
Exactly.
It all comes down to like habits and you know, really truly training and developing those habits, because it's like you can wake up one day and man, it feels so easy, like you just can crank it out, and there's other days where, to your point, Adam, I mean, like the last couple of weeks, like we've been diving into some intense stuff, and it's like if you don't have the habits in place, like stuff falls apart.
I also think if you don't have the why and you don't have the direction, like what do you want to achieve, like if those things are absent, then you're never going to be able to make it happen. And like at the end of the day, if you're lucky, you're going to live 90 to 99, maybe 100 years. Like that's the top. And you just have to realize that like you only have this short time on the planet, so you have to give it your all. And if you don't, well, I don't think you're going to experience life to the full.
No, yeah. The why is really important. I've had the fortune to have a few whys, and it's really important to have.
Well, so you know, kind of going off of that last story. I mean, let's kind of talk about the why for a second. I mean, Bruce, like I mean, would you say that your why has changed over the years? Like, what was the why early on for you, like as you're kind of working through law enforcement and then the transition into Quest and kind of like, you know, now, like, is it the same? Is it different?
No, I've had several whys. And when I experienced them, like my why, the Marine Corps wasn't a why. That was like, I had to do it because my police chief told me to do it. Right. So, and I didn't know, God, this is my calling in life. I'm going to make it a career. I was like, okay, I'm learning. I'm going to grow discipline, and I'm going to get all these skills. But so that wasn't my why, but my why was when I became a cop, because it was my boyhood dream. It was what I always wanted to do. So when I got it, it's like, okay, this is my why. Helping people, work in the community, doing all these great things. And then while it continued, now it's still part of my why. I like serving as a reserve and all that. But then the next why was probably when I started the security business, bodyguard business. It really became, wow, I figured out, okay, you're a servant leader. It's clearly your calling. You're much, because everything I've done, Marine Corps, LAPD, bodyguard, it's all serving other people. And it really became a why, because I figured out, okay, listen, I'm doing a great service for people. I'm keeping them out of trouble. I'm keeping them out of harm's way. And then the third why was, honestly, it's just me. This is how I internalize my whys. Other people may not understand them. We started, and we saw the people writing us and saying, hey, I lost 30 pounds. And oh my God, I have celiac, I have diabetes. You guys are like doing like really good work there. I didn't really appreciate it until I started seeing those kind of communications. And I was like, holy shit, wow, like we're changing lives. And it was such a good feeling inside. It became, okay, now I really have to help these guys build this company. And because we're changing the world, people aren't looking at food the same. So that's kind of what happened. So I guess I could say I've had 3 pinnacle whys in just in my mind. Other people may think whatever, but that's my life,
I hope with our company, especially Vanish Holsters, which is, as you well know, like the holster company that we own. I hope we never get any testimonials that are like, "Oh man, like I had your product and I had to use it and it was great." I'm like, if I can sell 1 million holsters and nobody ever have to use it, I'll be super happy.
Yeah, BJ Baldwin says it was the quickest draw I've ever done. Like, 1 point second or whatever it takes. I get it. I know what you're saying by that.
What's the story behind the BJ Baldwin one?
Oh, do you know him?
I mean, I'm familiar with him. He's a professional driver, right?
Well, yeah, but he's also a really fast shooter. He's like I've never seen someone so fast from he'll have a flannel shirt on and
oh, really?
Pulls from the waist. There's videos of him. It's almost like
I follow him on Instagram, so I mean, I've seen him, doing. He'll do videos showing himself doing a draw from conceal.
Yeah, that's all I was making. It may not make any sense. Yeah.
Got it.
But
No, got it. No, tracking with you.
Yeah, one of my good friends, his name's Max Michel. He's a competitive shooter. I think he's one of the fastest or best in the world. But yeah.
Yeah, we work with a guy who lives here in Iowa, a couple hours north of me, and I'm sure you're familiar with the John Wick series. And this guy is John Wick. I mean, it's absolutely insane what he can do with a gun. He can throw a dollar bill up in the air and it could just be drifting all over, and he could just shoot it right down the middle. And he can do hip shots with revolvers from 150 yards and land them on steel first try. It's something else to see. So
Now, do you try and seat your product with people like that, or special people?
Yeah, we do. So
really?
He was a sponsor for a little bit, or we sponsored him back in the fall. So we actually worked with a pretty cool agency that you may be familiar with them. That's how we got introduced. Is agency that we work with introduced us to Josh Avon, who introduced us to Carson, and that's how we now know you. So,
yeah, that was actually my connection. I find it get confusing. I figured because these people I know that are in the gun industry carry weapons and the products you sell.
Yeah, and so with that agency, they do a lot of placements like that. I mean, first off, they have to find out, does the influencer actually align with the product, right? They're not just going to run any product out there. And so fortunately, what we've been able to do in the past 15, 16 months by selling so many is vet the product. Like, they can tell, oh, wow, the customers are actually really satisfied with this product. Their claim, just that it's comfortable, not that it does much else, like in terms of what's available in the industry.
Comfort's really important,
because like I didn't carry before, and I've had guns forever because I just didn't want to change what I wore, because I'm like right now I'm wearing shorts with a drawstring, and in the winter I wear joggers or sweatpants, so I didn't want to change what I wore. And then I also wasn't going to carry a Kydex holster anyways because I find them to be incredibly uncomfortable. So that's how I guess I solved my own problem when I created the product, and then I realized, well, I'm probably no different than the vast majority of normal Americans who would like to carry but just don't want to have to alter their lifestyle too much in order to be able to carry every day.
And people I talk to, that they say that well, it's too cumbersome, or I can't know where to put it, I don't know where to carry it. So yeah, it's all about those needs too, right?
I mean, that's kind of the thing, is I'm nobody in the gun industry, literally just an average guy who ran a marketing business for a while and then created a product that manages to fit most people's needs. So that's what we're happy about.
That's cool. It's important. It's got the masses as opposed to just a small percentage.
Yeah. And as soon as Navy SEALs are on board with the Vanish holster, I'll be even more pumped, because that means we did a good job. And we're like, oh, cool. We made a product that works for the average person as well as a high-speed operator. I'm going to give myself a thumbs up.
I'll have to ask. I mean, you sound like you have some relationships there, but yeah, like I know Ray Cash Carey. He's a friend of mine. I don't know. I don't know if they have any loyalty to any product. I could find out,
Well, truth be told, we're working on a new product that's an evolution of the current Vanish holster that we think would be a lot better suited for people who have experience carrying Kydex, or more, the level of retention that they're going to carry or protection is higher. Yeah, so I think that when we come out with this one, which should be in a month or two, that'll be the one that we quote-unquote shop around and say, hey, go ahead and try this out. You Navy SEAL, you Green Beret, law enforcement, whatever.
That's how it happens. When you get a few people talking about it, boom.
Yeah, and then the Department of Defense comes knocking, and we'll be like, hello, government.
Right.
Government.
Well, cool.
Well, I think
what else?
We've covered. Yeah, so I know we've covered quite a few topics here. Like, for you right now, Bruce, what's most exciting for you right now? What are the things that you're focused on, and what are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about building brands. So I'm still, working on Legendary, and I think I told you about a company called BLK Water, Blackwater. And then the executive protection, I still have a couple clients I maintain and take care of, and I like it. And I like to see where my kids are now. I'm putting together a slideshow. It's funny. I got my 3 kids when they were just little shitheads. And now I have a picture of when, they're obviously adults. And, I'm very proud of my kids. My daughter's a nurse. My son's a contractor. And my other girl works in tech. So, that's a little bit of more of a focal point now. I want to see them succeed and do well in life. And I feel like, I'm in a position now that I can help them. When they grew up, they didn't live with me. It was one of those, weird relationships I had with their mom. But now that we're closer, so I try and keep them. I've gotten them involved with some of the businesses. My son's more entrepreneurial than my daughter's, and my daughter's a nurse, and I say, hey, why don't you start this IV service on the side? Because I saw advertised where nurses go like home care for like doing the IV drips and stuff. So I'm gonna encourage her to start a side hustle. I always tell everyone I know, start a side hustle. That's one of my big things now too, right?
Yeah. Okay. What's and what's like? Do you have like a? And I mean, how do you go about that? Like, so is that something just that kind of happens and you recognize it, or is there like kind of like a process there that you're kind of coaching on?
For me, when I help people,
yeah,
it just fit. To me, it's got to be a good fit. Like the relationship. I'm helping a husband and wife to have some protein kind of product back east because I like them. They keep calling me. They keep wanting to talk to me. I've had other opportunities where it just doesn't feel right or not. And on top of that, I don't be involved with a brand that I wouldn't actually support or use myself either. I'm just not about, hey, I'm sporting Diet Coke today and tomorrow I'm sporting Celsius. I'm not that guy. Like I'm pretty loyal. I'm pretty brand loyal, for me anyway. But I'm saying, like, if sparks a nerve, I like helping them. My training partner started a drink called Perfy. It's a low sugar soda with nootropics, and I'm helping him. Because he's my training partner, and he was one of the Quest guys marketing, and now he's got his own firm. So there's so many I think that need help, but then I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of going back to the relationship side of things. Like, how do you, like, Bruce? How do you balance all of this? I mean, all right, so dad. And then you got the private protection. I mean, you've still got some clients there, and there's multitude of brands that you're working on. Like, how do you balance all of that with everything that's going on?
No, I seem to do it quite well over the years. I don't really watch a clock. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably some days where I put in too many hours, and then there's other days where I could be on my phone and sitting at the beach. As long as I'm. And I think COVID caused that because now people work remote. So where I love seeing people in person. During Quest, I'd get on a plane and go to New York just to meet someone for lunch, because that in person is so important. Now everyone wants, hey, let's just get on a Zoom call. I'm like, okay, if we have to. So it's easy. I could be on a Zoom call anywhere. But ideally, I like to connect with people in person, and I encourage people to get out there and meet people in person. There's so many of these networking groups, and they're all free. Dan Fleischman has elevator nights. There's just people always, well, how do you meet all these people? You got to get, there's every community has some kind of gatherings or get-togethers or places you could, network. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, that makes sense.
I just talked to a guy who wrote me on.
No, there's.
Good.
Oh no! I just was going to say there's no. You're saying there's no substitute for the in person, like building relationships, like with somebody, like in the physical sense.
For me, for sure. Matter of fact, there's this guy. I'm just two quick stories. I finally found this publisher. I'm working on this book, and I think it'll be done in 120 days, right? But I was writing a couple people, and some guy kept writing me on Instagram, and so he's bugging me, sending me a couple emails, and then this other woman who's published some pretty big books actually called me on the phone, and we've talked 3 times on the phone. We had a Zoom call. We haven't met in person yet because she's in Texas, but we're going to meet. So the other guy circles back, says, hey, how come, and I said, I'll be honest with you, man. I said, I like talking to people on the phone. I said, you have literally not called me once, and you've been bothering me for 6 months. 5 minutes later, he called. I see a phone number, which I don't pick up. And then he texted me, say, hey, I just tried to call you. And I said, hey, it might be too late because I think I went with a publisher. But that was a prime example where this is just another person hides behind their computer screen. And sometimes it's okay, just pick up the phone and say, hey, man, I want to do business with you. And there's another guy who's trying to get me to buy his coaching program. And I said, I saw you were in LA. Why don't you meet me in person? He goes, well, it's easier to keep it this way. And I go, I'm not going to DM someone. I said, no disrespect, but I can meet anyone I want. Like I'm not short on meeting like important people. And he's an important coach, but he won't call me. He wants me to pay this money on his program online and not even have a phone call. That's not me. Like if you're that big, then you don't need me. I'm still about connecting with people in person. It's just a better, it's more authentic for me anyway. And this isn't some old school bullshit either. I encourage any age. It's nothing like seeing people.
Yeah, I
in
don't
person.
disagree. The way where I live right now, a really small town, Iowa. I was fortunate enough to be able to move here about 5 years ago because we had already established the business. I was able to work from home. But where I live right now, I don't really believe there may be a way that I could have catapulted myself into a position where I was able to do what I'm doing right now. But it took me moving to Denver. I lived in Salt Lake, went to college there, moved to Denver where I knew there was even more opportunity, and spent like 3 or 4 years rubbing shoulders, putting in work that didn't pay anything just to get to a point where I could get my foot in the door to be able to do what I was doing, which was copywriting at that point. And now I'm just like, if I lived here and I wanted to make something happen, yeah, you could technically make it work here, but it's going to be a long uphill battle. Putting yourself in the orbit of other people who are either doing it or who have some kind of influence or that you can serve is absolutely the best way to do it. So if you're young and you don't have any responsibilities like a family or anything that's really going to tie you down, I would definitely say you've got to be in the vicinity of other people who are either doing it the way that you want it to be done or where you're at least able to learn through osmosis from all their other experience from business people or people who have gained any kind of experience in with success, because it's going to be hard otherwise.
Yeah, and I get it. Yeah, and I get it. If you're in a small town, it's harder. But look at all these free. Every single person that has some level of success, even though they might charge a little money for the coaching, you'll see they have the webinars. They'll have free Zoom calls, and next thing you know, you're connected with people. And hell, pay $200 to fly, an hour to go to one of these free seminars, or they have boot camps, or buy a $99 ticket somewhere. I got to tell you, if I had to do it over again, every weekend I'd be at some event trying to get a hold of somebody if I didn't know what I was going to do. Right? The proximity, meet successful people. I'm not too big into going to some, keep spending money to go to a real estate seminar. I mean, look, you could learn everything you want to buy in real estate on YouTube, literally. But I think if you're trying to accomplish things and you want to meet the right people, you got to
it comes down to what you had mentioned earlier around inspiration and motivation, what we had talked about there. You can just keep going to those kinds of things, and if you never actually take action, then all you're doing is wasting time, wasting money. So I remember the very first conference that I went to for copywriting was back in 2011, I think, and the guy even says, he's from the stage, he's like, 1 in 100 of you are going to make it, because the rest of you aren't going to put any of this stuff that I'm telling you into action. And I was like, I guess that's going to be me. And it ended up being me, because I just knew that I had to do the work to make these dreams come true.
Yeah, I know friends of mine that go 4 times a year to Tony Robbins, and they just never do anything with it. Hey, actually, crazy enough, I know we're recording, but I'm getting a text from my client that we got to wrap. I got to meet them soon. But
Okay. Well, Bruce, man, we really appreciate you hopping on with us. I mean, those are really, we hit on so many different things, some of them expected, some of them not expected, but just an absolute pleasure to sit here and learn about you and learn from you.
No, I definitely appreciate your time. You guys are really amazing, great energy. And do me a favor, make sure you text me your addresses. Sure. I want to send you something.
Okay.
I'm going to guess Quest Bar.
Right,
Quest Bar is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, definitely do that.
No, you never know. No, it could be 3 or 4 brands. All right, we'll talk.
Thanks, Bruce. Have a good one.
Sounds good, Bruce.
Right,
Thanks,
guys.
Bruce.
Have a great one. Bye.
Take care.